Hello and welcome to Welcome Home Radio. The waters in the mortgage industry can be pretty muddy, whether it's investing, leasing, renting, home insurance, or myths and misconceptions. Welcome Home Radio has the answers for you, the consumer. And now, to help you make the right home buying decision for you and your family, here are your hosts.
And welcome to Welcome Home Radio, where real estate lending and learning come together. This is your mortgage market update for September 30th. Sorry to all my fellow Stars fans, the Stanley Cup was lost, but we did win the Western Conference and a great year for the Stars. Stocks are higher this morning, and there's good news in the Case-Shiller Home Price Index, which is considered the gold standard for appreciation, so that nationally, there was a 4.8% annual gain in July. This is up 0.5% gain after June. The 20-city index rose from 3.5 to 3.9 year over year. This is a really strong showing in those gains. It also stated they expect this year over year figure will jump again in August. An example, someone buying a $300,000 home that gains 5% in appreciation would benefit $15,000 in 1 year alone. So that is a great growth in equity for home buying. Home sales are flying like an eagle. Pending home sales, which measures signed contracts on existing homes, is up 8.8% in August, after 15.9% gain in July. I mean, it's incredible to see the index at a record high since they started tracking pending sales 20 years ago, all in the face of record low inventory of homes. So an amazing, amazing feat in the real estate market. The MBA released their mortgage application data this morning, and the last week overall applications fell 4.8%. Refis fell 7%, and purchase apps fell 2%. The ADP employment report showed gains of 749,000 jobs in September, which is better than expected. Trade, transportation, utilities, and manufacturing all grew. But believe it or not, the two industries that hurt, healthcare and education, all lost jobs, over 11,000. Mortgage bonds remain unchanged at this morning, but additional reports due on Thursday and Friday could see a moving average going higher. And our topic is all about timing within the real estate industry today. Join us as we really discuss and hopefully enjoy your questions. And of course, joining me all the time, Alan Pace with Fathom Realty. And we're so glad to have Tom from the Champion School of Real Estate. Hello, guys. How are you?
Hello.
Gee, I wonder who that was.
I wonder who that was. Stock guy or what?
Oh, it's Tom and Abe Lincoln.
Hey.
And my little friend Gatorade too.
Oh gosh.
Good to see you today. Good morning. Oh, hi.
I think he's really enjoying this distance learning thing there, Alan. What do you think?
Makes me want to go buy a pair of boots.
Hey,
I've been isolated too long.
Yeah, you and Abe, I bet.
I want my medicine.
Well, guys, we're looking at timing within the real estate industry, and there's multiple different phases of real estate. Whether you're purchasing, refinancing, everybody needs to understand what timing really is, and depending on where the market's at, can impact it. So really, let's start right off the bat. Somebody decides to purchase a home. Of course, they're going to contact Alan. They're going to be asking Alan, what can we do? How do we start? And Alan, what are you going to say? I mean, real quickly, there's going to be a key point that you're asking the key question: are you or are you not pre-approved, right?
Yeah, it all starts with the lending or the cash. You know, they either have the money or they need to get the money. So that's where it always starts. And it depends on who you're talking to. Are they new to the housing market? Are they upgrading, downsizing? So your questions, might be a little different depending on who you're talking to, but in general, if it's a new person in the market, you start really right from the very beginning. You explain the process. We have to get pre-approved first. There's a couple reasons why. One, we have to establish that you can afford a home, so that when we take an offer to a seller, they will take us serious. And the way they take us serious is with that piece of paper from Blair that says, yes, I've reviewed everything needed to be reviewed, and they are pre-approved for X amount. And also what type loan, which makes a difference when you're out there purchasing. So that's one direction. If somebody's a little more experienced, they might just call and say, hey, Alan, we're gonna downsize, come on over. And over I go, and you have a Coke or a beer and you sit down and talk with them, and they pretty much know what they want and where they want to be and when they want to be there. So they usually understand the part about finance. It introduces another part of the equation. They might have to sell their home to buy another one. Many do not. I'm closing on a deal today where she does not have to sell her other home. She is buying her forever home. So, but we will
So
sell
she's rich and she's paying cash.
her last name's Home.
That doesn't surprise me around here. I'm the last to know everything.
But so it's different with people that really have been through the experience. And then there's a whole nother equation that comes in with people that just flat don't know if they can buy or not. And those people I send over to Blair, and he talks about their, past history with them, their rental history, their payment history, their credit history, and goals. Lenders often talk about goals. Isn't that right, Blair?
Oh, yes. I mean, I think you brought out the key point there of the decision point. If we were developing a matrix, is are you cash, are you financing? And again, you brought it even further down. Is it first time, or is this upgrading, downsizing, or right sizing, and or, like you said, forever home? The pre-approval time frame to get pre-approved is critical. And I will tell you, I'm going to share a recent experience that I'm very frustrated with. I feel like I could have done so much better, but had a couple that was just rushed. They're trying to buy their first home ever. They're suddenly their lease agreement is running out, and they have got to get pre-approved. And in trying to help them, we tried to push forward as quickly as possible. And unfortunately, one of the key things that could not come back, verification of employment, came back and literally changed the whole thing and blew up the loan.
Oh, no.
We have to have time to be able to do certain things, and they were trying to buy quickly. And again, I had them pre-approved based on everything they'd given, but we had to should have done a verification of employment when I saw it. We pushed on, and it came back and unfortunately blew up the loan today that I had to have that conversation. So getting pre-approved and really understanding and documenting everything is critical, so that you don't have these disappointments, so that you don't have the struggles, but you know what you're able to do and live within a comfortable pricing. The neat thing about one of our apps, our application, is that you're able to log in and do a calculator that you're going to see your monthly mortgage. And if you're looking at one home, and it may change on one price point, but you're going to be able to see, can you live within that home monthly mortgage estimate that's there? You can do that at any time, Saturday evening, Sunday afternoon. You don't need to talk to Alan or I. You can do that yourself. But you want more closer numbers. You want to understand the process, and you need to document it. So one of the things I know Alan does, and everyone should be aware, what do I need to do to get fully pre-approved? What documentation? I can do a pre-approval inside of 30 minutes if I have all the documents. But if it gets more, and Tom, you can help us here. Hey, are you self-employed? Are you W-2? Have you been in that job a long time? Have you had any bumps or skips? All of these things come into play with documentation that you need to verify and need to be prepared to give. I'm shocked at how many people don't know where a W-2 is. And I did my taxes, but they send me their taxes and there's no W-2 attached. Now, I don't know how that works. Every time I do my taxes, my W-2s and 1099s and everything else are attached to it.
And just a quick footnote to what you're saying. My first conversation with anybody in real estate, new, experienced, or whatever, is never hurry. This is not a hurry up business. There's lots involved. It's the biggest decision that most people ever make financially. So I always start off, if you're experienced, what is your time frame? And then we go one direction with that conversation. If you're not experienced, it's my time frame. I introduce them to them and say things like, what we want to do is do this right. So what you're going to have to provide the lender is X, 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 X. Or, in fact, I'll put you in touch. If you have a current lender, good. Somebody in your family, talk to them. If not, I have an option for you. And do that. But I always tell people not to hurry. And the other footnote here is, if you're going to buy a house, it's not a bad idea to use a CPA, a couple years before you buy even, or a year before you buy, because they always have your documents. And I can tell you that when I deal with people that have a CPA, and they're not all that expensive, most of them, just one quick call to them and there it is, if you can't access it. So I started using one at a very young age. It's paid off 100 times, so, instead of using the software thing and then blah, 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 and then get a different computer and not know how to access it and all that stuff, I don't worry about it. Just make a call, boom, it's in my pocket in 5 minutes. So everything Blair needs is there. So that's just a little tip.
That is a great point. I've never had that conversation, but I think that's a valid point. And I have used a CPA for, my goodness, 25 years. And I've never had that situation where that person has not been available or made available those documents. Now, getting pre-approved can be quick, again, if you're prepared, but it can also take a long time. It just depends on how quickly you can respond and get documents to us. Tom, what is the critical things you're looking for? I mean, we're looking at income stability and really asset affordability after credit. That's really the three major areas of a loan app. Is that correct?
That really is. I mean, you've got capacity, which is that ability to repay the loan. You've got credit, which of course is key and instrumental to everybody's success, and will depend also in effect how the loan's priced. And you've got the collateral piece, which is, where's the money coming from? Where's that down payment originating? It's not coming from your Colombian uncle down that's going to leave a box of cash on your doorstep. So
let's talk about that. I mean, you can tell me you're getting a gift from a relative.
Yeah.
And it just seems to be such a struggle when that happens. Like right now, I've got one with grandma, and grandma just can't get me a mortgage bank statement to save her life. It seems like it.
Right.
And I'm like, well, then I guess we're going to have to use your 401k. I don't want to touch my 401k. Well, I've been on the phone 3 different times, finally explaining. I hope I was able to explain why.
Okay. We're creative, right? If he borrows that money from his 401k and pays it back within 60 days, he won't have any interest paid on that deal. So, okay.
It's a good point about the generations. You have to respect the generations because, 70, 80, 90-year-old people bought houses differently when they were 30 and 20.
You bet, you young whippersnapper. Yeah.
My point is there was a lot more handshake and a lot more trust, and
sure,
paperwork was, that thick. And Lord, they never asked me questions like that, Blair. I don't even know what you're talking about. I've got a friend who I helped move from up north down here and got him a nice place, couple acres, nice home. And they have a friend in the country, and this friend is 70-ish, 75. It's a piece of property with an old busted up trailer on it, and it's just horrible. And another person actually owned the trailer. She owned the land. Well, she wants to sell the land so that she can maybe improve her life a little bit. And oh boy, you talk about learning. This is Tom's subject. You know, she didn't know where to start. I said, you have to start at the county. You personally have to do this. I cannot do this for you. So best I could do was get her all the contact stuff. And she had a phone, but she didn't know how to use the internet on the phone and didn't have the access to it. So it's been probably 3 months, and she finally got a piece of paper saying what I could see on the tax rolls. But now she has to get a letter from that lady saying, I will sell. I will, I'm okay with this. And it's been a nightmare. So
wait a minute. If I could understand, there's a trailer on a property, but they're not tied together.
That's right. And it goes back a long time ago. And it's an interesting situation. I'm not a lawyer, but I did turn her on to one, and they're sorting it out. I don't know if there was human error involved. There was obviously death involved and title involved. There's no clear title. So if you're a realtor, you can't do anything unless the seller has clear title. You can't transfer a home to a buyer that they're not getting a home. Who knows who owns it?
You can if your favorite color is orange and you love bologna and cheese sandwiches.
Exactly. So, that's the learning part of it. At least in my business, I've been doing this quite a while. I learn something every week that
amen.
I do. And so what Tom does is valuable, and I'm blessed to have him as a buddy here. If I have a question, I can call and get a good answer, and I don't have to wait. But most realtors don't, and their brokers don't know either. I will tell you that is true. So
on that, I want to make sure we say hello. We have a wonderful broker right here online. Deb, just great to have you listening in. Please chime in with any comments and or thoughts that you may have on timing in the real estate industry. It is a challenge. I can't understand historically how a trailer that is, I guess that's chattel, isn't it? There, Tom? And
sure
I got to believe the landowner has priority on that, but that's a crazy situation there to be.
They're both alive. It's widow women. They're both alive. The husbands are dead, and they just were living. And now the person that's got the most of the deal has the land. The trailer's not worth, not much at all. The land isn't either really, but it can make a difference in this person's life.
Sure.
But she can't get her money, and that's the knot we're untying.
Well, even her heirs won't be able to do something because of a claim that this person may or may not have. So that you need to start working on that now. So the pre-approval time frame is one, but Alan, help us, or Tom, either one. Next thing that we get you pre-approved, we get you situated, then it becomes search time frame. Sometimes I have people immediately, like Deb had a client, boy, she just jumped on it and she got them a property quickly and signed contract very quickly. Other times it can be like Alan, who takes 9 months to find a home. No, I'm teasing Alan. I'm teasing. But let's call.
As long as I get my check 9 months later, I don't care.
But seriously, it comes down to that search time frame that allows us to. I mean, it could be a variance from a week to up to 6 months.
Yeah, it's different. It depends on the market. Right now, it's a seller's market. There's a lot of buyers. There's not a lot of inventory. Anything 180 to 350 is non-existent. Multiple offers on, if the home is perfect, it goes immediately. If the home is semi-perfect, it goes fast. If the home's average, it might take 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. But the other thing is sellers have so many different loans to look at when they get multiple offers. And they look at different loans. And what is the risk to a seller on a certain loan? That might not be, cash is king. Conventional loans are good. VA and FHA, a little more strict on rules, foundations, roof problems, rot, stuff like that. So a lot of sellers can't afford to fix up their house.
So do you find a lot of people moving from you said that, 180 to 350 range is hot. Are people jumping into a higher bracket of purchase just so that they can find more property, or are they are they having to make record offers, 10, 15, 20 of them before they get the home that they want?
It's combination of both. Generally when a pre-approval comes out, there's a little room there, generally. So you always, talk with the lender, make sure we can do this. And they'll say, would you call them? And yeah, I'll call Blair and say, Blair, listen, we might have to bump it 20,000. We need 350 instead of 320. Can't do it, Alan. Or yes, okay, we can make that work. And then we do. But yeah, it's a combination of both. It's just really busy, and Deb did a great job. That quick home find is amazing. So, and she's a great realtor. I've worked with her before, and that's what it takes. It takes tenacious realtors. It's a team thing. So we have to outwork the other realtors, and Deb's capable of it, and so am I.
Oh yes, I mean, and if I'm not mistaken, Deb is a broker now, and she's growing her realtors. A great realtor to work with. The opportunity here, again, to educate people in time frame is that, like you said, right off the bat, it will take time. Now, one of the things, Tom, I want you to speak to is that negotiation, that contract. How important is it in negotiating a contract that's favorable, of course, to both borrower and seller, but understanding that negotiation time? It can be one night, it could take a week. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. And it depends on the availability of people. Sometimes people will be out of town as far as receiving offers, or they've already relocated to a different area, and so they're harder to get for Alan to get through and get to. The technical part of a contract, though, does require acceptance on both parties. And if I tell Alan, yeah, let's go for it, then he knows the contract is accepted, and in turn he has to deliver that message immediately to his sellers so that we have a binding contract at that point. So the good old days of handing pieces of paper back and forth and initialing those, when I used to be in the business and was doing that, I tell you what, you'd have the little round stamp on there where everybody would initial in their little corner. And those days, they're pretty much have gone to bye-bye. We've got the interpretations to understand that Alan is the conduit, that he is the representative when he lists a house for that person. And by virtue of the other agent or the other person, actually the buyer saying, yeah, that's good, Alan, then he has a responsibility to convey that immediately.
I'm going to share my ignorance here, guys. If you have a verbal, but yet you do not have a DocuSign contract, which one stands? Is that verbal still good or not?
Well, to have a valid contract, to answer that question, have a valid contract, it's going to have to be in writing. But to have an accepted contract, we can confirm the details with Alan because he represents his seller. If he is countered back to us and said, and I'm the buyer of the house, and he said to me as the buyer that, okay, we're good to go. If I say to him, we're good to go, this contract is like you wrote it, is fine with me, then that is a signed, sealed, delivered type situation.
Yeah, and I can tell you when you prep your clients, either buyer or seller, once you're through the process and you're ready to make the offer, or you make the offer and it verbally gets accepted, before that even happens, I've told any client on any side, buyer or seller, until it's signed, we really have nothing. Now, technically, we do have a binding contract verbally, but that buyer can still back out and not sign that contract, and my seller doesn't have nothing. So that's really how it works. Most realtors, I think, live by the guise of until it's in writing, we don't have it. But literally 80% of the contracts we do, there's a verbal acceptance before there's written acceptance. And we go on our merry way, and everybody's doing the right thing for the right reasons for the right people. And it works. And so, but there are those that it happens in real estate. Yeah, we got a deal. It looks good. Okay, great. Well, Tom's right. I'll go to my seller and say, hey, it's looking good. They are, well, did they sign it yet? Well, not yet, but we'll get it.
Well, exactly. I mean, Lynn brings out a great point here. When sellers or borrowers all of a sudden take off, they think it's done, and then they haven't signed or they haven't docu-signed, and they're what a challenge it is, because lenders cannot move forward on a verbal. I mean, I don't accept working or establishing or moving forward just on a verbal. We have to have that signed copy of that contract by both parties to make it a valid in our world.
Well, one thing that's really helped the business is the DocuSign. I've worked with people and they're on a different time zone overseas. Okay. It doesn't matter anymore. As long as
I agree. I mean,
morning and they're having their, their coffee, I can DocuSign it to them and we can get it done. So
Tom, you know this in the VA world, collecting the commander's email saying at the time of signing, this veteran is alive because he's actually in a combat zone and signed a document. So yes, it is able to be done, but it is a challenge of coordination, communication, and it makes realtor lives very difficult sometimes. But I just find it interesting. Lynn, you're exactly right. Those variables we can never count on. No contract, no opportunity, no client is ever the same. And what a challenge they all bring. But that's the need of this. And that goes back to Alan's original. This is going to take some time. I mean, right now I'm working on a self-employed borrower that they're not planning to buy until 6 months from now. But we're already getting tax returns collected. We're already getting estimates. We're already getting all documents so that he can confidently go into that 6 month cycle of, I know I can buy on this date. So I think that's critical that we bring that up. And now you talk about contract negotiations. You talk about one of the things in this market right now, sellers looking at multiples. How long, if you make an offer on a Friday and they say all offers are closing on Sunday, will you have a decision on Monday, you think? I mean, is that what the promise generally is?
It's different on every contract. I mean, on a buyer side, you could say my offer is good until 5 p.m. on Saturday night. On a seller side, they might say we want best and final by 4 p.m. Monday. So a lot of houses get listed if they're in great shape. They'll get on the MLS on a Thursday night, pop up on Friday, everybody's radar, and Friday afternoon, Saturday, and Sunday, sellers will let the property show. And as a seller agent, you're made aware of how many showings there are, who's showing it, et cetera, et cetera. So you know what's going on, and you know the house is very busy. And so you will get with your client and say, listen, we're getting multiple offers. So as they come in, like Tom said, it's my job to share it with my seller immediately. And even if we have a lot of showings, if it's the right offer, the seller can go, Alan, stop, shut it down. I want this offer. I don't want to wait and see what else we get.
I was going to ask you, if somebody from California, because we do have them coming here to Texas, and somebody visually sees that on the web and makes an offer Friday night saying, my offer's good until 10 a.m. and it's 20,000 over or 30,000 over the asking, can that shut everything down? I mean, is that?
In a seller's market, most agents that list a home are not going to, they're going to ask, have you been in the home? No, I have not. Do you know the area? No, but my kids live there. They drove by it. Okay, so meanwhile, you got 15 other showings coming up. You're not going to jump on a California offer when you got 15 showings coming up from local realtors and buyers. Now, they always have a way out. And so what you worry about with an out-of-stater is they tie up your property in the option period. And once you mark a property option, active option, the showings dry up immediately and you're dead. You're dead for 7 days, 5 days, 3 days, 10 days, whatever you negotiated. So
Sure.
It happens. I think it probably happened more during the COVID thing because nobody could get out for a while. So I think that happened. But in general, two things. One, if you're a buyer, you don't really want to make the biggest purchase of your life not having seen it. And remember, sellers have been buyers before too, and they think that way also. how serious can they be, Alan? My God, they live 1,200 miles to the west. They've never even been here. So
Yeah, but they're wanting out of that state, as I understand.
if you're the buyer agent, yeah. Listen, they got money. The credit's amazing. They're moving from California. They got more money than everybody. I mean, it's a great offer. We're 20,000 over. Well, they still got an option period to get out of it. And if they fly in and look at the house and hate it, you're done. All you did was tie up the property for a week. So,
Sure.
but it's the one thing that needs to be clear here: the seller is the boss. The seller is the boss. The seller goes, "I'll take 50,000 less than they're asking." Fine. If that's the one they want, that's the one they get. If they want this one, they get that one. If they don't want to do more showings, they say, "I'm tired of the showings. I'll take this offer. I don't want to go through it anymore. I'm tired of it." Others might go, "Let me look at all the showings on, all the offers we have on Monday morning. We'll pick one Monday night." That's great too. But remember, the seller is always the boss. Okay. A buyer can only stipulate a couple things. One, my offer is only good till X, and then we have to address it. Of course, the seller knows that, makes that decision. They might, "Oh, I don't want to lose this one. You tell them I'll take it." Sometimes that works. Sometimes it doesn't work. But when that happens, a buyer might be interested in 2 other properties. A lot of people now are, they're trying to find 2 or 3 at a time, so they can get one of them. So you have to be careful with that as a seller agent too. So there's a lot goes into this timing thing, a ton.
And it's a challenge to it. It's a balancing act for you guys. It's got to be a challenge just on both sides of the coin.
Well, it's emotional for buyers and sellers, and sellers, I try to get them to look at it as a business. I know you raised your kids here, and you got 2 dogs buried in the backyard, stuff like that. But it's a business.
You got a husband buried back there.
Yeah, I try not to go there. If I see that, I tell them probably you don't have to afford. You don't even have to. You can pay cash. But my point is, they just, they need to look at it as a business deal if they need the money to move on. So I try to get the emotion out of it, keep the seller on business. You try to do that with buyers too, but buyers are a little different. If they're upgrading, especially, they're like, "Oh my God, we're going to live here. Oh my God, we could have this." So you have to, play that too. But it's not hard to do. Experience helps. It's hard to do when you're new. Anything's hard to do when you're new. When you've done it a while and you've been through it a while, every circumstance you can imagine, through death, divorce, cancer, sickness, all of it, then it comes to you, and remember, realtors are people too, just like lenders and teachers. So on the investing side, it might be a little different. Tom can talk about timing on investment better than you and I can, Blair. So that's an interesting thing to me when investors are looking, and in a market like this, you're competing against a gazillion investors. I get literally, I'm not kidding you, 10 calls a week from investors wanting to know if I have pocket listings, or do I know something that's trash and they'll make it somebody's treasure. And so Tom is an investor and one that is an expert in the real estate and lending area. How do you handle that when you're out there with your properties and trying to add or subtract?
Tom, what do you have to add to this?
Well, I think Alan's doing a great job with regards to just understanding that the contractual piece and understanding what is important. Like he said, if it's in writing, I do want to point out that if it's in writing, you have to present it. So that's another thing that a lot of people, don't mess with it, blah, blah, blah. Well, Alan's
You're talking about offers from the listing agents to the sellers.
And that's offers from the buyers to the sellers as well.
If he offers me $1 on $1 million property, I still have to send it to my seller.
That's correct. That's correct. No matter what, he's got to present. He has an obligation to present all offers. And this goes back to, Alan's story about his son buying a house and then ending up paying quite a bit over the best bid that was out there. The sooner you get those things in, the sooner you get those puppies going, the faster I think it is for the seller to say, well, these people are really on top of it. They know what they're doing. They're ready to do this. And oftentimes that timing piece does, in my mind, make a difference. I'll tell you psychologically, since we're talking about making offers, generally, I will tell you that normally I offer quite a bit of earnest money. I know I'm going to get it back if I don't want the house. But if I'm going to buy the house, why not go ahead and have that earnest money check pretty substantial? So oftentimes you get the 1% type of mindset. If it's, $200,000 house, you put $2,000. I would put $5,000 or $8,000 or $10,000 if that's how much it's going to cost me to buy. What does it matter? And that psychologically sometimes puts me to the front of the crowd. I won't say sometimes, I'll say probably 85, 90% of the time it puts me to the front of the crowd when I'm making an offer in multiple offer situations. So there's a lot of psychology. This is why you have a good realtor working for you.
And a lot of times what's happening too now in a seller's market, you tell your buyers, you write that passionate letter about this home. Write that letter. I have 3 beautiful children. I have served my country diligently. This is the school. This is where we would love to be. And it would be a blessing if you were to accept our offer. And and I will tell you both that at least 3 deals a year, 4 deals a year, makes a difference. It just matters in certain situations. And if a realtor's not talking to their client about that, then we're maybe not doing everything we can do to get that house. Tom's point on the escrow money is spot on the money. As a buyer, I'm looking good if I'm offering, if it's a $300,000 house and 1% of that's $3,000, and I'm going to offer $3,500, it's going to get a seller's attention. Dude, serious.
Well, it separates the viewing by that perception, whether it's real or not real. It is of value, and I see that.
As a listing agent, a $300,000 house with a $1,000 escrow. Okay, and of course that's flags. It's a flag. And
what about the situation? Standard in the industry, even when I came in, was sellers pay title. I think one of the biggest ways that I would think in this market right now is to get a borrower to get attention is, hey, I'll be paying title. Is that valid or is that not? Or is that still valid that they pay, who pays title?
It's valid. I mean, everything in a real estate contract, Tom will, I'm sure, affirm this. Everything on there is negotiable. I mean, until you put something in there, then it becomes non-negotiable if you sign it. But up until the signature point of it, yeah, you look through that contract and where can I make a difference? Well, I can do a 3-day option period with $200 option fee instead of 7-day with $100. Well, as a seller, I relax with that a little bit because I know I'm only tying up my house for 3 days. If this person doesn't like it, then they're going to bail out in 3 days. Well, I like that as a seller. If somebody puts 10 days and $100 in a hot market, well, I don't know how serious are they. They're still shopping the market. They can not even do an inspection. They can just tie it up. So everything's negotiable and including title. So that's a little less than 1%. So on a $300,000, it's $2,650 or something. And yeah, that's more money for the seller. And yeah, it's all negotiable.
Well, I want to challenge our listeners. You're listening right now. Do you have a question or a comment you'd like to share? Please do so to help us along, to help us to make sure we're talking and bringing this topic to life in the sense of time frames in the real estate industry, because we really need to understand them. I think one of the biggest challenges that I see getting past, at least from my perspective, is that looking, that seeking, that finding the right home, getting it under contract. And, because right now, I mean, I have roughly, I'm going to say in the neighborhood of 18 to 24 pre-approvals out there that they're still searching for homes and have been for the last 4 to 6 weeks. One person I'm already having to repull credit, I know, whenever they get a contract. But that just means it's beyond 90 days. So it's just interesting that I think the search time frame, as you said, Alan, every client needs to know, and sellers. A lot of people are selling. They think it's going to go quickly, and sometimes it can, sometimes it can't. Is that pretty true? Basically, it's like you said. It's if it's in good condition, it's going to go quick. It's going to be one weekend.
Yeah, the house is if it's ready to roll, it's ready to roll. I mean, it's going to go quick. You know, everything's upgraded, clean. You can walk in it, and you know the seller's taking care of things. And as opposed, you walk into a house, and if you can see things that are wrong when you're looking at it, as a buyer or a buyer agent, and if you can see them when you're doing your walk or your showing, then Lord knows what don't you see in the attic or in a hidden space. If they're not taking care of it in your front of your eyes, then you know there's a problem. So as a buyer agent, I always go, look, when we leave the house, another quick note, most houses now are videoed and audioed. So you don't want to run in with your client and go, I got to have it under any circumstance. Not good. They'll hear that. So when you leave the property, you have the discussion, and I always have that discussion. Listen, if it's a deal where we can see so many things wrong, Lordy B, what's in places where we haven't even looked. That means they probably haven't looked. So we need to be cautious.
Hey, Alan, I'm going to stop you right quick.
Yep.
Tom, talk to this. I just heard something I really haven't, I guess I just took for granted or we're not aware. When did this videoing of home viewings start? Are realtors putting cameras or sellers putting cameras in their home, or they're already there and they just look at the tape? When did this start?
Well, I think it started when I was watching Flip and Flop, the TV show. And suddenly everybody realized, oh, I can put my cell phone on one of those extenders out there, and I can walk around the house and I can show it to everybody. And they have the, that's how they do it. Now, keep in mind the factors that are involved here, of course, is that you have to have a live stream like we do. You know, you have to have a Zoom or something like that in order to be able, because if I'm the buyer of the house, I want to be asking questions as they're walking through. Hey, show me that little corner down there. What is that? What is that? Oh, that's a dead rat. Okay. So I believe, again, TV kind of leads us sometimes with how we head in industry types of things. People see that and say, oh, that's a pretty good idea.
Well, in the listing, the seller can give permission to video his home, or he can deny it. So as a buyer agent, what I mean was, any home security that's in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, is that you're seeing viewings
first off,
and you're actually looking back at it.
Well, you're just walking. First off, when you're walking up to the home, you're already on camera on more than 50% of the homes now.
Thank you, Ring.
The doorbell, yeah. And it was you really know you're on camera during the COVID when the mask and the hand cleaner, and the booties are on the front porch. Okay, so the owner might be across the street just looking live in their telephone, on their iPhone or their Android. They didn't put their mask on. So I don't want to, it's not a freaky world, or it's not everybody's watching everybody all the time. All I tell my buyers is first off, we need to follow the rules in the showing. And second off, let's keep our opinions, the ones that might work in their favor. Let's talk about it when we're done. We can certainly come close and talk, but in the day, you used to get around that kitchen. If you were interested in a home, get around the kitchen counter, and mom and dad would say, this is it. Alan, what do you think it's worth? Or, we'd be willing to go wherever we got to go to get it. That kind of stuff. And all I'm saying is,
and that's an oopsie, just to point out for our listeners. Oops, you just told the seller,
right?
I'm willing to pay extra $20,000, or the sky's the limit, or you got to be careful about that, because
you assume that things.
That's just amazing to me that's come into the market now with these security systems, people viewing. I mean, it changes the process for some folks. And I haven't purchased a home in 15 years, so I'm not involved in that as much or aware. But that just kind of took me aback a little bit that realtors are having to say, hold off your comments until we get outside or get, at the coffee bar or wherever.
I'm happy to sell your house if you're anxious to get out there and get in the market. Come on. 15 years.
I was going to say, man, that's way too long. You probably have equity in that sucker. You could go buy another and get a good loan. I know a good loan officer.
Yeah, I am proud to say that I don't have a mortgage, so I'm very.
Oh, well, even better. Those VA rates are, woo, they're so low. They're so
Claire,
low.
just for fun and so everybody knows, can you borrow money from yourself, your company?
Yes.
Can you do the loan?
No.
Oh, good.
No, I can answer that. I can answer that question. No.
You got the best rate anybody ever got.
How'd you get 1.3%?
Man,
1.3, it's 0.5%. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
the Jeep, you got a Maserati. Woo!
Yeah, we are the group that we don't see any reason to move and don't see any reason to downsize with all the grandkids. So we want family to be able to come back home and stay home with us.
That's the case for upsizing then.
No.
Well, you need more wall space.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might.
No joke. He needs a lot more wall space. I'm surprised it's not on the ceiling, all this stuff in his place.
Well, I almost think that we could almost do another show on this because we haven't.
Well, that's what I was going to say is that we've only been through 3 of the 10 topics that I had. So
Wow.
I see us touching this again next week. Hopefully Deb and Lynn and anyone else can sign on and have some questions or additional comments for us, because we hadn't even talked about cash transactions, lending side inspections, appraisals, and what closing takes, and title. I got to tell you, I had a refinance that just because it was out of county, the title work added almost 3 weeks, and very frustrating, but was able to work through that. So yes, I agree with you, Alan. This is going to be our topic next week.
That appraisal thing, oh my God, that can be the best thing in the world or the biggest nightmare ever, waiting on an appraisal.
Right now, it is a challenge, and how we are addressing that process, I think it's a topic we need to discuss. I bet you we'll have a lot of comments to it, and an opportunity. So I agree. Next week we still will continue this. Oh, I want to educate people on PIWs. That takes care of appraisals pretty quick, at least in the conventional world, right, Tom?
Sure does.
It sure does. It's awesome, but I think it's just great. I appreciate everybody being here. I hope it was informative, and we'll see you next week talking timeframes in the real estate industry again. God bless. Great to see you. I'm Blair Thomas.
I'm Tom Holm.
And I'm Alan Pace.
God bless. Take care.